Hello everybody and welcome to Clinch Sports Up. So the Saints just won 28 to 14 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in which they had 25 unanswered points, in a game that was mostly decided through special teams, especially through Taysom Hill, because honestly he was probably the MVP of the game. So at one point the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were up 14 to 3 going into the half, and it looked like they were going to get points coming off of a strip sack that the Saints had the opening drive of the second half. But luckily for the Saints, the Buccaneers missed a field goal. And they already missed a field goal to go up 10-0, but again, they missed that field goal. And I believe the next drive, the Saints got a field goal off of that. But coming off of the loss to the Cowboys, the Saints offense you would expect to be coming out very well, very explosive. That didn't happen whatsoever until the blocked punt. In the first half, the Saints just played awful. There was a bit of cursing, to be honest with you. It was probably one of the worst performances I saw back-to-back games, or at least the first six quarters I saw the Saints play in a long while. But luckily, they end up beating Tampa Bay 28 to 14 again. But defense, the past two games, the defense have really proven something to me. Is that they, even when the offense kind of falters, they can play very well, really. Because the Cowboys only beat us by 3 points, 13 to 10, and we only allowed 14 points in the whole game. So in the first half, the defense was not playing fantastically, but I couldn't really blame them, considering how awful the offense was playing. But in the second half, they allowed 0 points. I'm not going to count the takeaway from Taysom Hill. Counting that as a defensive takeaway. But they did get that interception. Marshall Lattimore did force a fumble, but it was recovered by the Buccaneers. But defense played fantastic in the second half. Marshall Lattimore, probably one of the best games I've seen him play so far in the season. He did allow that one deep throw to Mike Evans that ended up in a touchdown later in the drive. But other than that, he played pretty well. He did get that interception in the last second of the game, but the game was over at that point, so it doesn't really... I don't want to say that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't really matter. Fortunately, Drew Brees, I don't know if he can win the MVP anymore. He didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a horrible game. He was 24 for 31, 201 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Or technically 2 touchdowns. He had his 4th rushing touchdown of the season. The reason why I don't believe that Drew Brees can win the MVP is because Patrick Mahomes is having a fantastic season. Having 41 passing touchdowns to only 10 interceptions. That's outrageous. And I don't want to be biased by picking Drew Brees to win the MVP. Maybe at this point I don't see him winning the MVP. I'm not saying that he can. He's definitely the runner-up, but at this point, it's not likely. If he wins, it's based on the fact that he's Drew Brees and hasn't won an MVP yet. Here's hoping that he does, but I can't see it happening. It won't really matter too much if the Saints win the Super Bowl. So looking at the rushing numbers, Mark Ingram had 13 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown, and that one touchdown was, I want to say, the game sealer, pretty much. I don't remember how many yards that actually was, but it was definitely at least 13. It was a big run. I don't think it was 20, but it was a very good run. Classic Mark Ingram run, running through the tackles. Fantastic play. Alvin Kamara, most of the game he was really shut down, so congrats to Tampa Bay, but he had 12 carries for 51 yards, and then 5 receptions for 36 yards. No touchdowns, but a total of 87 total yards. And then Zach Line also had a 1 carry for 4 yards, and I believe that he was the only touchdown that Drew Brees had. And that touchdown did come off of the Taysom Hill block punt. Looking at receptions, Michael Thomas, he broke the record for most receptions. Or the question... Okay, hold up. I don't know exactly what the record was, but it dealt with receptions in which he was the quickest to amass a certain amount. So Michael Thomas had 11 receptions for 98 yards. And then Benjamin Watson had 3 receptions for 24 yards. And then Nasser admitted that the Saints offense behind Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, and Michael Thomas isn't all that great. They have a bunch of role players, but no real number 2 wideout. I wouldn't. I guess you can maybe say that Traquan Smith can maybe be a number 3 on a good team, but I don't know. He has potential to be a good number 2, but he's not getting the targets that he needs to perform. I don't know if that's on Drew Brees not having enough chemistry, but it doesn't really matter. Will Watts, he's almost perfect as a kicker. I believe they only missed 1 field goal throughout the whole season so far. He was for 2 for 2 this season. This game, which is a fair point considering that the Tampa Bay kicker was 0 for 2. And defensively, Demario Davis had a very good game. He did have that 1 penalty where it was a helmet to helmet. But in defense of him, there was no real way to avoid that unless if he went for the legs. That's the only way that I could think of it. Because Barber lowered his helmet, and I guess so did Davis, but I don't know. He just was trying to go low, got the penalty. Cameron Jordan had a great game. I believe the 12th sack of the season. He had 2 sacks this game. I was hoping that Davenport would have got the helper off of the first Cameron Jordan sack, according to the stats on NFL.com. That didn't happen. But Cameron Jordan had 2 sacks. A.J. Klein had a pretty big sack. And then right after the sack of A.J. Klein, Cameron Jordan got his second sack to force, I believe, a 3 and out. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I can't remember. There was a lot of pressures all game, but when you're facing a mobile quarterback like Jameis Winston, you expect you need to have a quarterback spy. We didn't really have that. That was the only thing that really annoyed me. But with that said, defense played fairly well. Not too well in the first half, but in the second half they played fantastic. To be honest with you, Jameis Winston didn't have his best game. It was 18 for 38, 213 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That 1 interception doesn't really matter. The game was already in hand. And we took care of the rushing game. Besides Jameis Winston, Jameis Winston had 5 carries for 47 yards. Barber had 42 yards on 14 carries and 16 yards for Jacquizz Rodgers, who only had 4 carries. And then Mike Evans had 86 yards, but a lot of that was at the end of the game. So Marshawn Lattimore had a fairly decent game against Mike Evans, besides that 1 deep pass. It's a very important game. The Saints clinched the NFC South for the second time in a row, for the first time in history of the Saints, even though the NFC South, the NFC South has only been a division since 2002. So besides Carolina and the Saints, no other team in the NFC South got back-to-back titles. But this was a very important game, especially if the Bears somehow beat Los Angeles. So here's hoping that happens. So we can have the number 1 division. The number 1 seed in the conference. So thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video. Thank you.